Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Dychronic, your host here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be taking a look at my top 5 PvP specials in Destiny 2. And again, this video is about weapons that use special ammo, not weapons that are in the energy slot, not secondary weapons that don't exist. It's about special ammo weapons, like shotgun, snipers, and fusion rifle. And as usual, this video was based on 3 main ranking criteria. First of all, it's going to be noob friendliness. How easy is it to use, especially if you're a new player wanting to get into the PvP meta? You're gonna want to know what's easy. Second criteria is kill potential. How fast, how easy, and how long of range can you actually get kills at consistently? And then lastly, the availability. How easy is it to get one or many of these to drop so you can get your random rolls and get your god roll? And of course, make sure you stay till the end if you want to get access to my spreadsheet. If you haven't seen my spreadsheets before, they are pretty much some of the best spreadsheets in the land. You know, dark theme, color-coded, legends, links, extra notes and comments, how you get the catalyst, and all my perk recommendations for everything. Stay to the end, I'll be telling you how you can get your hands on it. And of course, if you end up using the spreadsheets, let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like on these videos because they do take a really long time to do, over 12 hours each time, so please, let me know you like them. And if there are any changes, let me know too. Near the end of this video, I wanted to go over some feedback I received on one of my previous top 5s, wondering why there wasn't very many new weapons in the meta, new weapons in my top 5. There's actually a very specific process when it comes to ranking and considering these new weapons for the new DLC, and near the end of this video, I want to talk about that. And the very last thing I wanted to mention before I get into the top 5 is I actually have a giveaway going on right now with an Astro A40 headset, Blue microphone products, and 2 $20 gift codes for Control Freaks. You can find them linked in the description down below. Pretty easy to answer, just like follow me on Twitter, go to a website, really simple stuff. Moving on to number 5 in this top 5 countdown are going to be your Rapidfire kings in the Crucible, the Badlanders, the Wishbringer, and the One Small Step. All occupy pretty much the same idea as the 140 RPM Rapidfire shotgun kings of the Crucible. Now, why is it that I've picked Rapidfire shotguns for number 5? A lot of people will probably turn their nose at this position, but I gotta say, these weapons are great for 2 main reasons. First of all, they're very available. The fact that Badlanders comes from the Menagerie, you can get Wishbringer from Crucible, One Small Step targeted from the Moon, all very available. You can get lots of great random rolls. And speaking of perks, they have great perk options from Slide Shot, Threat Detector, Moving Target, Snapshot, Quick Draw, lots of great options, and you can get them very quickly from Menagerie, from Crucible. You have a lot of great options. Next up, let's go over the 3 criteria. First up, for noob friendliness is very, very high. Shotguns in general are quite easy. Rapid-fire shotguns are a little bit easier on top of that, because if you miss, you can shoot the second shot, go for that melee, that 1-2 punch combo. As far as kill potential goes, you can get kills pretty quickly, pretty easily, and pretty consistently. However, it is a bit of a shorter range as compared to its counterparts. And then lastly, the availability. 1 drops from the Menagerie, 1 drops from a random Crucible drop, and 1 drops from a targeted Moon drop. Need I say more? They are all very available. Moving on to number 4 in this top 5 countdown is going to be a different set of shotguns, the precision frame shotguns. We have the Dychronic Blues, the Retold Tale, and the new weapon, Prophet of Doom. They all occupy basically the same idea, precision frame shotguns that do very well at good ranges. Now, very similarly to the previous item, they are all pretty similar to each other in the fact that they can get very similar amounts of perks, but their availability is very varied. The Dychronic Blues having the best availability being from Menagerie, forcing a range masterwork, forcing that to drop is honestly really good. And on top of that, they all have fantastic perk options from Slide Shot, Snapshot, Moving Target, Quick Draw, Opening Shot, lots of great things for every single one of them, and they all have Slide Shot, which is great. I would say in general, these are the shotguns that can reach out to the farthest range. However, they have been kind of competed with by the aggressive frames when we had that big shotgun nerf where they pulled in the range of a lot of shotguns, and Dychronic got hit the most. It went from like the definite first down to 4th place. Moving on to the 3 criteria. First up, for noob friendliness, I would say this is probably medium to high, considering it's a shotgun, meaning it's pretty easy to use. It has some pretty good range, which is really nice to have on it. However, it's a bit slower of a fire rate as compared to the rapid fire shotguns, but once you get used to it, this is definitely going to reach out to higher ranges and going to do better than the rapid fire. Next up, for kill potential, I would say is pretty middling, considering you can kill enemies quite quite quickly at close range, and it is one of the higher range shotguns. However, they are shotguns, so the range is pretty small. And then lastly, for availability, you have anywhere from very high at the Menagerie to middling at the Dreaming City and low for the Garden of Salvation raid. Honestly, if you have the Menagerie option, that is always the best option because you can force drops, you can force rolls. Menagerie is fantastic for availability. Coming up at number 3 in this top 5 countdown is going to be your best in class sniper rifles, the 90 RPM adaptive frame. And in this slot, I have 4 options for you: the Beloved, the Tranquility, the Fake Cries Foul, and the Long Shadow, all having great perk options, great availability, and honestly, they are fantastic for sniping in the Crucible. I would honestly say out of those 4 options, the Beloved is probably going to be your best option, considering it has the best aim assistant at 68 as compared to the other ones around 60, and it also still has things like Snapshot Moving Target with the options of no distractions, being a very powerful perk if you can get that, as it reduces flinched when you're aimed down sights for a while, which is super powerful for sniper rifle. So I know what you're probably thinking, why did I select the 90 RPMs to be best in class for sniper rifles? A bunch of different things. First of all, great perk options. Second of all, okay aim assistance. Third of all, great availability. The 140 RPM sniper rifles got a new sniper option that has good perk options, good aim assistance, but still not that different from the Beloved. As for the slower fire rate 72 RPM ones, honestly, I feel like the recoil is a little bit too high and the aim assistance is also a little bit too low. However, I would say Revoker technically is better than these 90 RPMs, being able to get that free ammo from a lost shot. However, its availability is extremely low. Moving on to the 3 criteria, starting off with noob friendliness, I would say is anywhere from medium to low. Medium because it has good aim assistance, good perk options, to be able to be usable by people that aren't the greatest, but it is a sniper rifle, making it a little bit more difficult. You do have to land those headshots, you do have to get a bit more practice, but these weapons make it up with a high amount of kill potential, being able to reach out anywhere from medium to very long ranges, able to one-shot headshot any end in the game, and one-shot headshot most supers in the game, making it extremely powerful at just dominating the field. And lastly, the availability, like I said before, is extremely high. Beloved being able to be dropped from the Menagerie. The best option, best availability is always amazing. Moving to number 2 in this top 5 countdown, you have the legendary kinetic shotgun known as Imperial Decree. This aggressive frame 55 RPM shotgun has absolutely been tearing it up in the Crucible, and in my opinion is going to be your best in class. Now, why is this shotgun so good? First of all, it's an aggressive frame and it's a bit more consistent in the PvP meta ever since the shotgun's range kind of got nerfed a few months ago. The aggressive frames have just been a little bit more consistent. Its perk options are really great, allowing you to have things like slide shot, snapshot, moving target, threat detector, lots of great options there. And of course, the availability from Menagerie, forcing the range masterwork, forcing it to drop is just really nice to have. You know, I'm just realizing every single category on this list has a Menagerie potential, and it's part of the reason why it's on the list. Menagerie is just too good. Now, why is the Imperial Decree set aside and set alone from Last Man Standing and Mindbender's Ambition? Honestly, Last Man Standing, pretty trash perks, and middling availability. The Mindbender's Ambition has good perks, but very low availability. Having it just randomly drop from Nightfall Unique is something that's going to take you a very long time to get what you want. Moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the 3 criteria. First of all, for noob friendliness, I would say is kind of averaging, because the fact that it is a shotgun, meaning that it is very easy to use. However, it is the slowest fire rate shotgun, so you have to get very good at getting those one-shot long-range kills without depending on getting a second shot. Next up, for kill potential is also pretty middling, because of the fact you can kill enemies pretty fast, pretty consistently. You don't need headshots. However, it is a bit short range because it's a shotgun, but it is technically the longest one-shot range out of any of the other shotgun. Whereas Dust Rock Glue has technically better range, the aggressive frames have better one-shot range. And then lastly, like I was saying before, availability very high. You can get exactly the rolls you want, and you have a lot of different options for rolls. You're not stuck to just one perk that you need to get. And finally, coming up at number 1 in this top 5 countdown are going to be the fusion rifles known as Aerentil FR4 and Wizen Rebuke, both high impact frame 860 charge rate fusion rifles that have been tearing it up in the Crucible. And honestly, I would say hands down, these are gonna be your best in class fusion rifles. Loaded Question and Jotun ain't got nothing on these fusion rifles. And I'm gonna talk about why that is very shortly. So why is it that these are the #1 weapons for PvP special in my opinion? First of all, these fusion rifles reach out to incredible ranges. They are the slowest fire rate, highest damage, highest range, and with a certain set of perk options on the air until you can almost max out the range, which is pretty crazy. I can't tell you how many times I've seen an enemy that's like 5 to 10 meters away, he shoots one fusion rifle shot and I die and I throw my controller straight across the room. As far as the perk options go, you have everything that you could possibly want for this type of weapon. You have things like Under Pressure, Threat Detector, Moving Target, Rangefinder, Tap the Trigger, High Impact Reserves. For High Impact Reserves, it's actually pretty crazy. If you only have 2 shots, it's always High Impact Reserves. Lots of great options. And guess what? The Aerentil drops from the Menagerie. It's the best of best. At this point, people are gonna get some PTSD by hearing the word Menagerie. They're gonna be like, Menagerie. Moving on to the 3 criteria, starting off with noob friendliness, I would say is actually pretty high. Being able to just hold down the trigger, control the recoil, and kill anything from short to medium range is actually pretty easy to understand. It's like a burst fire shotgun at a little bit farther ranges. It's pretty easy to understand. As far as kill potential goes, I would say it's actually pretty high considering you can kill enemies with 1 shot from the weapon at pretty decent ranges from like short to medium range. The only issue with kill potential is if you don't kill an enemy with that first shot, where you have to follow up with a melee shot, switching weapons to shoot them with that, or just shoot another shot from the weapon, which is pretty slow fire rate. That's going to be the only issue that kind of reins in that speed and kill potential. And then lastly, availability. Aerentil drops from the Menagerie. Wisdom Rebuke a little bit more difficult to get because it drops from Iron Banner, but if you're into PvP and you're doing Iron Banner with Aerentil, you might find yourself a Wisdom Rebuke that's better. You never know. But overall, they're very similar in every other way outside of availability. And that's going to be pretty much it for my top 5. Moving on to the spreadsheet section of my video. On screen now you can see the actual spreadsheet that I was working with for this video with all the information that I was considering, every single different weapon with pictures, color coding, extra bits of information, my full top 10 rankings of all the weapons, extra notes, information, how to get certain catalysts, where to get it, how to complete it. Everything here, my perk recommendations for each weapon that I've ever considered for this video. Everything is here. I even have a legend on the side of the video telling you how everything is and all of my sources. I love this spreadsheet, and I think it's one of the best spreadsheets in the world for Destiny 2 because of what it offers. Now obviously it doesn't tell you what the aim assistance or the stats of stability for each of the weapons, because I have to have a limit to what I put on here, but it will help you with most of the things you would ever want. Let's say you have a main ingredient drop. You want to know what the best perk options to see if you have a good one. Just look at the recommendations and see if you have a good one. If you're ever wondering how to get a certain pinnacle weapon or a ritual weapon, I have them all linked, so just click on this section where you get it. You want to know where you get a certain exotic quest item, I have that link too. Everything is here. It honestly brings a tear to my eye. And if you wanted to get access to this spreadsheet, it's actually quite simple. Head in the description down below, find my Discord server, and on my Discord server there's going to be a channel called #YouTube Twitch, and in there around October 20th, when this video released, I will release the link to that spreadsheet. And the very last thing I wanted to talk about before I end the video is something that I alluded to near the beginning of the video, where I'm going to talk about how I consider the new weapons that are dropping with the new DLC. In my recent top 5 PvE primaries, people were asking me why I didn't consider the new weapons and why is it the same weapons that we saw before. And in this section of the video, I wanted to talk about how I consider these new weapons. In general, there's usually 3 types of ways weapons enter the fray. And unless they trump the previous weapon's ability to do what they do, they don't really find a spot in the top 10 or the top 5. So starting up with the first type is a weapon that drops in an archetype that's already highly competed with that doesn't make much of a splash. An example would be the Prophet of Doom, as well as the One Small Step. In general, this weapon landed in a category that really has great perk options, that really has great availability, that it doesn't really matter that it's here because we already have our option. The second type of weapon is going to be a new weapon that makes a splash in its archetype. For example, the Omniscient Eye Raid Sniper Rifle. Whereas before we had weapons like Alone as a God, Supremacy, and Twilight Oath with some pretty poor perk options. They do have Snapshot, but very poor options here and here. They didn't really have a champion that could compete with the 90 RPM perk options and availability. With the introduction of Omniscient Eye with no distraction snapshot, that's pretty much the best that you can have. The only issue being that 72 aim assistance is really not that different than the 68 from Beloved, and its availability kind of pokes it down below. Now, if we get a new 140 RPM sniper rifle with good availability, it could potentially rock the 90s out of its spot. And the last example is going to be a weapon archetype that I didn't even realize existed. Example of this is going to be the Zealot's Reward, a rapid fire frame fusion rifle. I didn't even realize rapid fires even existed for fusion rifles, and so I had to reconsider how it would affect it, how it would be used in the Crucible. In general, it's really not that different from the adaptive frames, a little bit more difficult to control, but obviously you can shoot quite quickly. As far as this case goes, honestly, I'd rather use a high impact frame with backup plans than use a faster fire rate rapid fire. And because none of the new weapons really did anything better than the original weapons that we had last season, nothing really is going to change by much. There's no new fusion rifles to compete with the air intel meta. There's no new shotguns that were going to beat out the Imperial Decree, or new weapons in a certain category that were going to beat out different things. I would say the weapon that was the closest to actually winning something out would be Tranquility with its no distraction option, a new kind of perk from last season, and the new splash champion for the 140s, the Omniscient Eye. Outside of that, nothing else really was that amazing. But that's going to be pretty much the end of the video. Hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know if you had any questions in the comments down below. But yeah, I've been your host, Dychronic, and I will see you guys on the next one.